Sylvester. I'm the ambassador for edConnectr and CEO of Intro Networks, the company that has partnered with Connected Educator Month to provide this platform for you. We're going to spend the next half hour or less, we'll see how robust our questions are, with a deep dive into the system. Just to remind you how to get to edConnectr from the main Connected Educators website. There's this button here that says edConnectr. If you click on that, it will bring you up to this site. If this is your first time in, you'll click over here where it says New User, and you'll select the type of user you are. This is self-explanatory. Go in and first name, last name, email. Give yourself a login name that you can remember, your password, and hit Enter. Okay? Once you are in, the first thing that you're going to see, and for those that are already in, I'll give you a couple of tips and tricks here. First thing is your contact information. So this is also self-explanatory. One of the things we have is a map view. So at a minimum, if you could just put in your zip code, or for Canada, put in your mail code. That way, at a minimum, we'll locate where your closest post office is if you don't want to put in your address or possibly the address of your school. If you actually are a teacher, it's going to ask you what school district you're in. The heart of this system is this matching engine, which is based on tags, which are specifically designed for edConnectr. So if you look at the first thing, when you come in, these will all be empty. And if you've only picked one or two, I would challenge you to come back in and select more. So if we look at your role, if I go through this kind of slowly, and it was interesting, this year we put in New Zealand Educator because Connected Educator partnered with New Zealand this year. But you can notice that it's very easy. Also put in your tenure, and then your principal area of expertise. And if there's 2 or 3 or 4, you can go ahead and, for instance, if woodworking, well, let's say state and provincial history, you click that word and you drag it into the box above it. Now, what's important about this is the position of it is important for a couple of things. One, it shows you what's important to you, but also for us, it helps us make better matches for you. And when you're interpreting someone's information and looking at their profile, this gives you a very, very good indication of what's most important to them. These 2 categories are really going to be interesting. The I can help with, and you'll notice there's a, let me pull one of these out. You notice there's a long list of really interesting things that you could think of them as being skilled at, but also enough to where you could easily share with someone else and help them. And then the same list is on the I would like help with. So if there's whatever it is you think you would like help with, you just, again, take that word, drag it to the box above. And then on your interests, and the interests here are a nice blend of personal and professional, because we think that we want to find out who we're working with, especially if you're building a personal learning network. You want to be able to easily find out what people are interested in. And I'm going to kind of be checking, by the way, the question. I don't have a producer with me, so I'm going to be checking the questions myself. So give me a second every so often. If you have one, go ahead and type it in. It lets me know that there's a question. I'll go ahead and answer it. Now, once you're done with this, you click Next, and it automatically saves any changes I made. And this talk to me about is the first question we ask you is, what are you passionate about? If someone's going to start a conversation, what are the kinds of things that you'd like to talk about? With me, I'm all about connected communities. This is what I do. I'm going to show you another community that we've been running that I think you'll enjoy. The power of the why. I mean, someone says that, and say, whoa, what does that mean? And that was a great conversation starter. There's also a few things that help people understand more about you, how you got motivated, maybe a mentor, the way children learn best. All of these things are designed to help you understand someone better and figure out, is this someone that you want to maybe invite to a group, you want to collaborate with, you want to work with. We also, I'm going to focus on this one, the quality I value most in colleagues. This is really interesting because this is something we can search on, which I'll be showing a little bit later. And then the last one, I like these drop downs because they're easily searchable. What is the favorite thing you do to connect? Is it blog? Is it community? Is it forums, games, media? What are the things? And you notice there's quite a few to pick from. So it kind of forces you to pick the best one, most favorite one. The next thing is, please put in a picture of yourself. It makes everything so much more personal and social and interesting. And I like to, when someone new comes in the network, I put the picture up just to kind of get a sense of who that person is. The thing I wanted to, for those who've been with us now for a few weeks, I didn't show this area, which is my networks. So you can easily come in and add a network. For instance, I have a food blog. I've got my LinkedIn. So notice here that it says connect with me on LinkedIn, and it has my URL. You can click on that, and so I want to preview that. So just to make sure, there it is, takes me right to my LinkedIn. So you can put in, like I've got my food blog, any of those things. It's easy to go ahead and do that so that people can see and learn more about you. Then the last piece of the profile is photos and files. This is not a photo sharing site, and it's not Facebook, but there's probably one or two images, if you think about it, that really speak to who you are. It might be your classroom, it might be a favorite vacation spot, might be anything. But what I'm trying to do is create a place where there's just enough information so people understand who you are a little bit better and get to know you. Once you're done with that, you're going to click Show My Connections. What this does is this then takes us to what we call the pin view, and the pin view shows us, you notice all the pins along the side here. That's the legend, so I know what the colored pins mean. And if you want, you can take and move that out of the way so that it's you have a little bit more room to play. So I'm at the center of my own universe, and if I click on that, I'm going to see how other people see me. So there's all my words in the rank order of what's most important to me. They can also see where I'm at. I'm in Santa Barbara, and there's my URL, but there's those networks, right? My food blog, connect with me on LinkedIn, that's all there. How I answered each of the questions. Look at how much information. There's a little video I created using my web camera, and then if I participated in forums, you can read all of that. So very quickly, there's talk to me about creating connected communities, the power of the why question. So that's very quickly how you create a profile. By the way, there's one other piece that I've not shown the other weeks, which is the settings. So if you want to put in a couple of different emails to get notifications when you get a mail or a group or things like that, you can do that. You can control all of your settings here very, very easily, okay? Now, what I wanted to show today was the search piece, because that's really where you're going to spend most of your time is in search. So you click Advanced Search. By the way, you could come over here and just type in, if you remembered the person's name was Susan, but you didn't remember anything else about them, you just type in the word Susan. It's going to show me all the Susans. This view doesn't help me at this point. I'm going to click over to a list view, and I'm going to go through and say, oh, that's right, that was Susan from Portland. Now I remember that. And so if I click on it, we see there's Susan from Portland. And remember I talked about picture. If you just click on the picture, it brings the picture up, and I can see her, get a good sense of who she is. But that's a very simple way to use search. So I'm going to reset that. And I'm going to click on the Advanced Search button. What Advanced Search does is it lets me go in and select anything that's in the profile, okay? Now, by anything in the profile, I mean any of the tags, any of the words, any of the things like cities or things like that. And it's loading up. So I'm having a little bit of internet lag here today. So let's just bear with me for a second while there we go. Okay, so I'll click on advanced search. So the first thing, there's a lot on the search panel. So there's all of the words. So if I'm looking for new educators, I can just click that and hit search. So what it's going to do now, it's going to search for new educators. Boom, there they go. So only 122 out of 2,600. So that's interesting of itself. So let's keep going with our search. So we could say, of those, how many of them are interested in behavioral science? That might be something I'm interested in. Or click that. Look at that. It takes me down to 5. I can click my map view, and it's going to show me, oh, this is interesting. So here's Ion or Eon, I'm not sure, who is in, where is that, in Romania. Interesting. So we start to instantly get a sense of who this person is. And notice when I'm looking at the words in color are the things we have in common, and they're in a ranked order. So I know that adventure is a big deal. This might be a good opportunity to connect. Now, what I don't know is if Eon or Ion is a man or a woman. This is where picture would be very, very helpful to have that. Okay, let's keep going back to search. I'm going to reset that. I'm going to show you a couple of other things that are interesting. One of the things, I'm based here in Central California in Santa Barbara. I want to find who are the teachers that are within 50 miles, because if I wanted to have a meetup here in my town, that might be it. Now, I'm not going to do any other search criteria other than that. So I'm going to say within 50 miles. Look at that. Okay, so there's Santa Barbara. This is me here. And I can see the other people in Santa Barbara and can easily go and look at them. So I know Jennifer, because I've done this. We've done this for 3 years now, so I've met Jennifer. I can send her a message and tell her we're looking to plan a meetup for next Friday lunch. Love to have her and invite her, and might even go in and look at. She did a great job on her profile. Look at all the words she selected. So, I mean, if you can't find a way to connect with someone with this much information, then, you know, dig a little bit deeper. Look at other things that she really cares about. So we see the word collaboration in here a lot, which is really great. And as it turns out, she's very collaborative kind of person. So I want to show you a couple of other search things that are interesting. So you can also say, well, I just want to see people that are new within the last 30 days, because maybe I only check edConnectr, you know, once a month. Interesting. It's also let me turn off that filter there. Okay, so I'm going to look at people that are new in the last 30 days, because I'm constantly kind of checking, you know, maybe on a monthly basis to see, hey, who's new here, and what do I have in common with those people? And if I want to look at those 96 people, what are the things they all have in common? So the bigger words, so they're educators, they're experienced educators. Looks like mostly the second highest thing is 5th to 8th grade teachers. And integrating technology in the classroom is something they could help with. So that's good. They're in the right place. So now you can start to see a very, very interesting travel and exploration. So that's 20 of them are interested in travel. So if that's something I was interested in, I would just come over here and add to my search and say, come down here to the interest side and go down to travel and exploration. And now it's going to filter that down to there's those 20 people. I now might want to look at a map and say, if I'm based in California, so if I wanted to have a personal learning network with people that were in my same time zone, this would be a perfectly great place to do that very, very quickly. In fact, let's add one more search criteria. Go to fields, click add field, and then remember I said you could search on everything? Well, here you go. So now I'm just going to go United States and California. So now I'm taking that 20 and isolating it down to the 5. Okay, so there's Rhonda. So see how easy that is? Okay. The other thing I wanted to cover is, so I talked about that hidden search. The last piece of search was back onto fields. I'm going to reset this. Go to fields. Remember all the questions that were on page 3? And remember I talked about that quality I value most. So there's all the questions. So the quality I value most in colleagues. And we were looking at Jennifer's pin earlier, and it's collaborate. So let's find all the people in edConnectr who value, of all the things, value collaboration #1. And look at that, 317. Now, why is this interesting? Well, to me, it might be that I want to develop a relationship with a classroom. Now here, look at this. This is a high school English and Theory of Knowledge teacher, American International School of Johannesburg, Catherine. So I might actually reach out to Catherine. She's in high school, let's say, if I'm teaching high school, send her a message and see if there's something we could do with our classes. And that might be a really interesting exercise for my students to meet students from a completely different country. You could do that, you know, clearly you could do that in the United States. Look at, there's lots there. And you can see how by using the search and really digging in, you can find exactly the people that you would like to build a closer relationship with. Okay, so I want to spend the rest of my time on showing you about groups. So groups are where people get together and talk about things. That's kind of obvious. So here's there's existing groups already. There's professional learning communities. There's an educational bloggers area. Here's deeper learning through 21st century. Here's online teacher professional development. And some of them aren't big yet. They may have just gotten started very quickly. So I want to show you how to create a group. So there's a little button here called Create. And I was thinking earlier what kind of group would be interesting. And I know that there's, I was at a program here at Santa Barbara Unified where they had an expert in, and he started off by asking how many of the teachers taught the students how to Google. And I didn't realize that was a thing. I'm not a teacher, but I thought that was kind of interesting. So I'd be curious, what if we created a group on people who have found really great best practices on teaching search? So you go to Create. It's very, very simple. So I'm going to upload an icon. So I actually made a little Google icon. So it makes my group a little more interesting than just having the pins. And I'm going to call this Google in the Classroom. And I'm going to say for people to share best practices using search. I'll say search and other Google tools, because it might be Hangouts and things like that. All things Google. Now, you would like to put maybe a longer description in there, because this is all searchable as well. And then the category would be a topic-centric group, and then I click Next. Now, one of the things you can do is you can actually tag the group. So if I want this group to be for all teachers, and I'm looking at if they're curious. So let's say big ideas, that's kind of interesting, and curiosity. Huh, isn't that funny? I don't have that as a word, but we'll say creativity. So you can go through, and the reason you do this is so that, actually, let's see if the word technology is in here. Yes, it is. So that this group shows up as a pin, so people can get matched to that. Now you can also add words. So if you say, I can help with Google search tricks, and I'll save that. So when someone comes in and joins the group, they could actually click that word if they could help. And then maybe what we'll do here is we'll also put in Google search tricks as something I would like help with, okay? And then the next piece is members. Now, one of the things that you could do, is you could just add people. So I could come in and search. Remember, we were searching for, I want all the Susans. I could just add people like this. This, you know, that's not very good, and Susan's probably going to go, what the heck? Maybe if I typed in, I'm just curious if there's any Google people here, don't know, but you could take and add them this way. Now, I'm not going to add her, but I'm going to show you what you do next. You say add selected, and what that's going to do, it's going to bring up a little panel for you to type in something. The reason you do this is, why are you being invited to this group, okay? Now, you may just let it organically happen so you don't add or invite, or you can invite people to join. So if there's people that you already know, don't just go mass inviting people, because that's very spammy. Just go ahead and invite them that way, okay? So I'm going to cancel out of that because we're not going to invite them. And then I'm going to say finished. Okay, so now my group is in there. It'll show up the next, there it is, right there, Google in the Classroom. Now let's go look at another one of the groups, just so if you're contemplating joining a group. So here is this educational bloggers group. It says we can read a little bit about it. We can go in and look at the members. But here, look at this cool thing. If I say view connections, I can say give me a pin view of that group. So now, this is interesting. So there I am at the center. I can see who is in this group that I may not show up in my standard pin view, but these are actually have a lot in common with this group. So that's kind of a very interesting thing that's in there. You can also say, I want to get a map view of that group. So again, if I'm trying to understand, you know, it might be a, where did that map view go? This might be a group that is based specifically in Europe, and I want to get a different position. So there we go. Okay. And my last piece was, for those of you, so this is edConnectr. There's another network called Neon. If you are a STEM educator, write this down, Neon, neon.intronetworks.com. Neon is a project that we have been running for 5 years now. There are about, I don't know, almost 9,000 teachers in there. And this is free, just like Connected Educator. And you'll notice it's exactly the same in what it looks like, but the focus is different because there's actually a tremendous amount of content and events that are going on that are all very, very focused on STEM education. So once everything gets loaded up, I'll be able to show you. And there's new teachers in this all the time. And I wanted to show you specifically one thing which has to do with resources and forums. So if there's specific topics, so if I come over here to resources, and let's say I'm interested in Mars, I'm looking for material on Mars. I'm going to go in and type in Mars, and look at this. So there's, you know, tons and tons and tons of stuff about Mars. So if I want to look, here's the whole lesson plan. This is for Earth Science Day, okay? And then I'll close that. And then I can also go to the forums, and I could type in Mars and say, see who's talking about Mars. And there we go. So here's, and it shows the word that's highlighted. So I can start to see all the kinds of conversations that are there. So I wanted to point that network out in case you are a STEM educator or you know one. This particular network, let's see, it's got, it's a lot of people, wow, 7,800 teachers from all over the world. So this is another resource for you that's up all year long, just like edConnectr is up all year long. So why don't I use my last 5 minutes for questions, and let's come in and see here what we've got. Okay, so I've got 5 folks on. This is the perfect time to ask questions while you've got me. We've got one more week next week, and I hope your Connected Educator Month is going great. Any questions from anybody? Just go ahead and type it in the question area. and I'll go ahead and answer it. Well, with no questions, I guess either I did a really, really good job of explaining, and there are no questions, which is great. So I would encourage you and love it if you, oh, Julian, thank you. Thank you. You did a really, really good job. Thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, good. Lisa, thank you. I'm glad. I just want to make sure that you understand how to use this. And okay, so here, I'll ask you a question. What do you think you could do with edConnectr, let's say later today? What's something you could do to you said, there you go, right, Marla, yeah, introducing it to the community. So what's something you think you could do with it? Give me an idea of something and let me think about it. Oh, great, Julian, thank you. I appreciate that. North Carolina educators. Well, let's do something here. Let's go in and let's reset this, and let's see how many North Carolina educators there are. So remember, how do we do this? We go to country, and then we're going to go to North Carolina down here, and we'll see how your work is cut out for you, sir. So, oh, look at that. That's pretty impressive. Look at that. You've got quite a few there. So, by the way, you can look at these in a couple of different ways. You can change the map view a lot. Okay, so great, great. Lisa said, great to expand your own personal learning community. Absolutely. Oh, Julian, I'm sorry. See how that is? See, with just names we don't know. You are a lady. Well, thank you for your advocacy there in Julian in this instance is female. Yes, I get that. How do we build something similar like this for our project? Marla, real simple. Just you get a hold of me. I'm Mark, M-A-R-K, at intronetworks.com, or just come down here and click contact us and just send me the question that you have, and we'd love to talk to you. We do that all the time. So we'd absolutely love to help you. So just go in and reach out, and I'll reach out. We'll set up a time to talk. So everybody, thank you so much. We'll be back next week. So if there's someone you think would get a lot of value from having a deep dive with me and a chance to ask me questions about what it is we're doing, I'd appreciate it. And with that, I'm going to sign off and say thank you so much. I really, really appreciate this time with you, and enjoy your last week of Connected Educator Month. Bye-bye now. You're welcome, Julian.